Hey everybody, it's Matt Shu from Upright Health, and today I'm answering another question, and this one is coming from Der Lumpenhund aus Deutschland. Deutschland is German for Germany, so everybody brush up on your German since I know you studied that in college, like this guy. Unfortunately, all Germans, like 99% of them, are very good at English. Anyway, on to the question. Der Lumpenhund first compliments me a lot and thanks me for helping him with his athletic performance and overall posture. And ich wollte mich bei dir für diese Frage bedanken. That, by the way, was German for I really love cheese. It's a very complex sentence structure. He says, I was wondering whether you could go into detail regarding the mutual inhibition of agonists and antagonists and how the body compensates for inactive muscles. I personally noticed a unilateral weakness in my glutes, similar to what you discussed in your squatting form video, and noticed that in addition to having a tight TFL, quads, and hip flexors, I seem to have tight hamstrings on that side. Is my body compensating for my weak glutes by using the hamstrings? For example, oder zum Beispiel, while deadlifting or running. Greetings from Germany. Seriously, like Germans are really good at English, so I don't think I know many native English speakers who would talk about unilateral weakness and mutual inhibition of various muscles. So, der Lumpenhund, ich bin beeindruckt. Anyway, so that's a very good question. The last question is my body compensating for my weak glutes by using the hamstrings? The short answer is most likely yes. So when you're looking at the hips and you're thinking about the ways that the body can compensate for weaknesses, it gets extremely complicated. What I'll do right now is tell you that there are multiple ways compensations happen and that there are multiple things that can happen that will foul things up. Around the hip joint, you have muscles in a basically 360-degree arrangement. So, like your shoulder joint, your hip joint is able to do all kinds of crazy motions in all kinds of directions. With a simple joint, more simple joint like the elbow, it's just sort of, well, it goes up and down. Yes, there's that little rotational thing, but it's not as big a deal as full circumduction, or circumduction in German. I don't know if that's actually true. Might be. Probably. In your case, you're talking about tight quads, TFL, hip flexors, and then a weak glute, and then tight hamstrings. So you're actually a great example of how many things can go wrong at once. Basically, the whole front of you is tight, right? You're saying, falling over. You're saying all of this is tight, right? Everything up into here is tight. If that stuff is super tight, it's going to make it more difficult for you to find the muscles back here. You got a lot of neural drive, you have a lot of activity here. It's very easy for you to recruit these muscles and they're constantly on. So it's going to be hard for you to get the butt muscles, basically. Now, that means that you have generated a positive feedback loop. You have a situation where, because these are so strong, it's hard for you to use these, so these won't generally build back up, so these will get stronger in all kinds of activities. Now, another compensation can definitely be hamstring compensation for a weak glute. So there's a lot of rehab scenarios and just plain training scenarios. When you do something like this, which should be a glute dominant exercise with a little bit of spinal erector activity, when you do something like this, if you have a really weak glute, what will happen is your hamstrings, which are also hip extensors, will kick in to try to do the job that the glutes are not doing. In your situation, if all you did was try to stretch your hamstrings, you'd be screwing yourself, right? You'd basically have this stuff going way too much, which would still be shutting down your butt, which would still be basically forcing something to compensate. So you'd either get it all here, you might get it some in the hamstrings, Maybe you get none in the hamstrings, but it all stays here, and then your knee starts to hurt, yada, 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 yada. Now, I said the hip joint's got muscles going all around, right? So the other problem here is that the inner thighs can become dominant, right? And what a lot of times we'll see is people are very tight, very overactive through the inner thighs. They're just unable to open up. The quads are super tight, and now everything is shut down in your butt. Now, as soon as you start doing some things that basically short circuits these muscles and forces the other ones to kick in, things can start feeling a lot better really, really quickly. So one exercise that this week I've been using quite often is the band pull through. The band pull through is really good because it forces the glutes to kick in. Depending on how you have your feet set up, you can quiet down the hamstring activity. And there's pretty much no quad activity in that exercise. So it helps you start finding, with your brain, it helps you start finding those butt muscles. Okay, meine liebe Leute, check it out. I've just taken one of these little pull-up bands, these giant rubber bands. This is a 41-inch rubber band. Just wrapped it around a squat rack. You can do this with anything. If you are at home and you need something sturdy, you don't have a squat rack in your living room, you can just tie a knot in the end, stick it in a doorway, and basically pull it so that the door is stuck shut, and then you have yourself a makeshift anchor for your rubber band. Make sure you set that the right way and you're pulling it so that the door is closing and not opening, otherwise you will have a rubber band right where you don't want it, and that will make sense in 1 second. So, basically, guys, you need to be careful. Your huevos rancheros will not like this if you do this wrong. So you have your hands basically just like this. Okay, you just got the hands just like that, and you just start walking forward just like that, and you let your body fold forward. So my hands are basically going towards the squat rack and towards the doorway. I can have a little bend in my knees, getting into a bit of an athletic stance, keeping my spine straight, and then I just pull straight through. Gentlemen, do not try to turn this into a bicep curl at the end. For obvious reasons, it will not be very comfortable if you try to curl this up. There are things in the way. Don't hit those things. Once you're at that standing position, you should feel your butt muscles squeezing, and hopefully equally on both sides as you're doing this. If you want to try to make it a little more butt-centric, you can toe out a little bit. So instead of having your feet parallel to each other, you just have them out about 10-15 degrees. 45 degrees if you want to get crazy. And then whoop, and I'm getting pulled back, right? So you just go whoop, just like that, and you should feel those butt muscles squeezing. The thing you want to make sure you don't do is screw up your back doing this. So if you're coming forward and you're doing this stuff, thinking, oh yeah, I'm getting an awesome pump, this is bad. You don't want your spine to be curling, right? We want to keep the spine straight so you're popping through. It's for anyone who plays hockey as a goalie, or if you're playing football, it's basically starting from that ready position and boom, exploding forward, okay? Or it's like doing a box jump. You know, you're basically crouched and then boom, taking off like that, except you have that vector of resistance going in a slightly different direction than you're used to really focus on the butt. Also, der Lumpenhund, danke für die Frage, and if you or anybody else ever has any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comments section on any of my YouTube videos or on the Upright Health YouTube channel page. And I will get back to you in English with little sprinklings of what little of your language I might actually know / remember. Give this little exercise a try. Do 3 sets of 10 to 20, depending on the resistance of the band. Enjoy it, feel your butt working, feel the other hip muscles not working, and remember that pain sucks. Life should.